Imagine walking into a restaurant to celebrate a special family night, only to be told you're not welcome. Humiliated, you prepare to leave. But within minutes, the entire story takes a shocking turn. The family everyone ignored ends up owning the very restaurant that tried to shut them out. How did it happen? Stay tuned, because this story is one twist after another. Before we start, let us know in the comments where you're watching from today. And if you enjoy this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories. The doors of the restaurant chimed softly as Nathan Hale held it open for his wife, Angela, and their two children. Their smiles were warm, their laughter light as they entered the upscale dining establishment for a celebration of their wedding anniversary. Nathan wore a tailored suit, and Angela's dress sparkled under the dim ambient lighting of the restaurant. Their children, a boy and a girl, followed closely, their faces glowing with excitement. Inside, the restaurant buzzed with quiet conversations, the clink of silverware against plates, and the occasional laughter from diners enjoying their evening. Nathan approached the hostess stand, his voice polite as he greeted the young woman behind it. "Good evening. We have a reservation under Hale for 4. The hostess glanced at her list, her face neutral before hesitating. Her eyes shifted to someone standing nearby, a tall, sharply dressed man with a clipboard and an air of authority. The man walked over briskly, his sharp gaze landing on Nathan and his family before offering a thin, forced smile. "Good evening," the man said, his tone clipped. "I'm Eric Langley, the manager here. Unfortunately, there seems to have been a mistake with your reservation. We're fully booked tonight." Nathan frowned, confused but calm. "That's strange. I confirmed the reservation myself this morning. There are plenty of empty tables here. Perhaps you could double-check?" Eric's smile tightened as he shook his head. "I assure you, sir, there are no available tables." His eyes flickered to Angela and then back to Nathan, his demeanor growing colder. "We run a very exclusive establishment. Perhaps another restaurant might better suit your needs." Angela's smile faltered as an uneasy silence settled over their family. The children glanced nervously at each other. Sensing the tension, Nathan straightened his shoulders, his calm demeanor unshaken. "I see. Thank you for letting us know," he said, his voice firm but polite. He turned to his wife and children. "Let's go." As they walked toward the door, Angela whispered softly to Nathan, "What just happened? Why would they turn us away like that?" Nathan gave her a reassuring glance but said nothing, his jaw clenched tightly. Meanwhile, at a nearby table, an older man in a crisp business suit observed the interaction with keen interest. His eyes followed the Hale family as they moved toward the exit, his expression thoughtful. He sipped his drink slowly, his mind already turning over what he had just witnessed. As Nathan reached for the door to leave, a soft yet firm voice called out from one of the tables near the corner. "Excuse me," the man in the business suit said, setting his glass down deliberately. His voice carried an air of authority, cutting through the quiet hum of the restaurant. Nathan turned, his hand pausing on the door handle, and met the man's gaze. Angela and the children stopped as well, looking back with curiosity and a hint of unease. The man rose from his seat, buttoning his jacket as he approached. He was tall, with silver streaks in his hair, and carried himself with the confidence of someone accustomed to being listened to. As he reached them, his eyes softened, and he offered a warm smile. "Mr. Hale, is it?" he asked, glancing at Nathan. "I couldn't help but notice the situation." Nathan hesitated before nodding. "Yes, I'm Nathan Hale. I'm sorry if we disturbed you." "Not at all," the man replied smoothly, holding out his hand. "My name is Mr. Whitaker. I'm actually a frequent guest here, but I must admit, I've never seen such an unwelcome reception for any patron, let alone a family as polite as yours." Eric, who had been watching the scene unfold from behind the hostess stand, quickly intervened. "Mr. Whitaker," he said with a nervous laugh, "I assure you this is just a misunderstanding. We're simply at capacity tonight." Mr. Whitaker turned to Eric, his smile fading into a stern, piercing look. "Is that so?" he asked quietly, his tone carrying an unmistakable edge. "Because from where I was sitting, It looked like you just refused service without valid reason. In fact, I counted no less than 4 empty tables when I arrived. Eric stiffened, his face flushing as the nearby diners began murmuring among themselves. Samantha, the young waitress who had been serving Mr. Whitaker, stood frozen near the bar, her eyes darting between her boss and the imposing guest. Mr. Whitaker's gaze didn't waver as he continued. I think it would be wise for you to reconsider your actions before this escalates any further. Nathan, sensing the tension, placed a gentle hand on Mr. Whitaker's arm. Thank you, sir, but we don't want to cause trouble. We'll find somewhere else to eat. Mr. Whitaker looked at Nathan and gave a faint smile. You're not the ones causing trouble. Mr. Hale, he said, his tone carrying a quiet determination. But this isn't something I can let slide. Eric's discomfort was palpable as he fumbled for words. Mr. Whitaker, I'm sure you understand. This is a high-demand evening. We've had several walk-ins. And that's enough. Mr. Whitaker interrupted, his voice calm but firm. You've already said more than necessary. He turned back to Nathan and Angela, his expression softening. If you would indulge me for a moment, I'd like to personally ensure that your evening is salvaged. Angela glanced at Nathan, unsure. The children clung to their parents, sensing the weight of the moment but not fully understanding the unfolding drama. Nathan nodded cautiously. We appreciate your kindness, Mr. Whitaker, but we don't want to inconvenience anyone. Mr. Whitaker smiled faintly. The only inconvenience here is watching an injustice unfold and doing nothing about it. Please, follow me. Without waiting for Eric's input, Mr. Whitaker gestured toward a table near the window, one of the best spots in the restaurant. Samantha, still lingering by the bar, caught his eye. Samantha, Mr. Whitaker called, his voice warm. Would you kindly set this table for the Hale family? Samantha hesitated, glancing nervously at Eric, whose face had turned a deep shade of red. Mr. Whitaker, Eric began, his voice rising in an attempt to regain control. This is highly irregular. If you have concerns, we can address them privately. But Mr. Whitaker's sharp gaze silenced him instantly. You forget yourself. Eric, this is my establishment. Any concerns I have will be addressed immediately and very publicly if necessary. The murmurs among the diners grew louder, eyes darting between Eric, Mr. Whitaker, and the Hales. Samantha, emboldened by Mr. Whitaker's presence, quickly moved to prepare the table, her hands shaking slightly as she placed silverware and menus. Eric stepped back, his jaw clenched tightly, but he remained silent, clearly seething. As Samantha finished setting the table, Mr. Whitaker turned back to Nathan and Angela. Please, sit. Tonight, your meal is on me. Angela looked at Nathan, who gave her a reassuring nod. Thank you, Nathan said quietly, guiding his family to the table. The children's eyes lit up at the elegant setup, their initial nerves beginning to ease. Eric, meanwhile, stormed toward the kitchen, his composure unraveling. Mr. Whitaker watched him leave, a flicker of satisfaction crossing his face. He leaned toward Nathan, lowering his voice. I'd like you to enjoy your dinner first, but I'll have a word with you afterward. There's more to this than meets the eye. Nathan raised an eyebrow but didn't question him. As the Hales settled into their seats, the tension in the restaurant didn't dissipate. It shifted, filling the air with whispers and stolen glances from other patrons. Behind the swinging doors of the kitchen, Eric paced back and forth, his anger boiling over. Who does he think he is? Undermining me like this? He hissed to the sous chef, who simply nodded and kept his head down. This is my restaurant to manage, not his playground. You're making a scene. Eric, the sous chef muttered under his breath, carefully slicing vegetables. Maybe you should let it go. Eric's eyes narrowed dangerously. Let it go? That man just humiliated me in front of everyone. And for what? To pander to people who don't even belong here? His voice rose slightly but quickly dropped as he caught himself, glancing around to ensure no one else heard. No, this isn't over. Back at the table, Nathan and Angela exchanged quiet glances, both keenly aware that the evening wasn't as settled as it seemed. Nathan leaned in and spoke softly. Something's off. Angie, Mr. Whitaker's help is appreciated. But there's more going on here. Angela nodded, her gaze drifting toward Mr. Whitaker, who sat at his table, sipping his wine and observing the restaurant like a chessboard. Do you think he's being genuine? She asked cautiously. I think he is, Nathan replied. But I also think he's not telling us everything. The story unfolds with layers of tension, unexpected alliances, and revelations that culminate in a transformative opportunity for the Hale family. They go from being turned away to reshaping the restaurant into a haven of inclusivity and respect. If you'd like me to continue this tale to its conclusion, let me know.